Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and today, March 3rd, marks the anniversary of when the Switch originally came out back in 2017, and here we are 8 years later. But in that 8th year of the Switch, well, loads of great games came out, so today we sit down and talk about the 21 very best. All these games will have released in the time period of March 3rd, 2024, all the way to March 2nd, 2025. Also, an important thing to note is that this list will be in no particular order. I collated the final list, put it into a randomizer, and then wrote the script based on that. Oh god, we're going into the 9th year of the Switch's lifetime. What?
Oh, why'd you do that?
What happened?
Dude, I just had the most crazy dream. I dreamt the Switch was entering its 9th year.
I'm gonna stop you right there. That was not a dream. That's what's happening today.
And starting off, we have Animal Well. Ever since I saw this game for the first time, I was immediately intrigued. It got that one of the great indies vibe all over it, I thought. And it turns out I was correct, because my god did this game get a lot of 10 out of 10s. In this Metroidvania, you play as a little blob, trying to outmaneuver some of the fiery animal foes standing in your way. And what makes this game truly special is its atmosphere and its secrets. You're kinda just left on your own to discover it all, and if you haven't already, you really should, because Billy Basso, the creator of this game, and whom I got to briefly chat with last year, has really outdone himself with this one. And then we have Thank Goodness You're Here. This is a very British game. One of the first things you're shown is this, which in my case, I have no idea what it means, but it is something in a specific British dialect, so if you do understand, you can say whatever the left thing says, and you can have all the UI and menus be written like that. As Alex put it in his review of the game, you play as an entirely unnamed yellow man. This game plays out almost like a point-and-click adventure. You can interact with so many things on screen. Your job is to help people as best as you can, and you'll have a jolly good and funny time doing it, if the humor is to your liking, that is. Also, the game is really short, being completable in 2.5 to 4-ish hours. Coming up, we have Pizza Tower. Finally, we got this lovingly Wario Land-esque pizza game on Switch. Looking at it might give you a headache with everything that's going on. You can feel the love that's put into this, and it's fast-paced levels where you're trying to destroy the pizza tower so that the evil pizza face doesn't destroy your own pizzeria are a delight to blitz through. In these levels, you'll need to collect 5 toppings, knock down a pillar, and get the hell out of there without getting too distracted by all the chaos. I got to try this game out briefly at Sion's place, and it really got the adrenaline pumping when you had to get out of there before the timer reached 0. Loads of people love this game to death, so how neat that it's finally playable on Switch. And next up we have The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. 2D Zelda is back, and after all these years, we finally got to be Zelda in a Zelda game. The main gimmick of this one is that you can summon echoes. This can be objects around the world like a pot or stone, or enemies you defeat. There is a lot of echoes to choose from, so many that people have complained that it takes too long to go through them when selecting them. It borrows the art style from the Link's Awakening remake, but feels a lot different than that game. Yes, it might seem at first that, it's the same biomes that you can find in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but for one, we got the return of the Deku Scrubs, 2 types of Sora, and there's just a lot more to surprise you down the road. Depending on how much the UI problem bothered you will of course also have a say in how much you enjoyed this game, but I think we can all agree on that they tried a lot of new things and most of it worked really well. And while you wait for Hollow Knight Silksong, why don't you try out this lovely Metroidvania called 9 Souls? As ye, you have to stop the 9 souls, and you do so by battling with intense parrying-oriented combat, like the stuff you've seen in Sekiro. This is what the highlight of the game really is. Like, truly phenomenal stuff. You also don't have to look twice to see that this game is freaking beautiful, oozing with charm left and right. It takes a lot to stand out from the dozens of Metroidvanias that gets released, but 9 Souls has done just that and created an experience that you should definitely try out if you enjoyed Metroidvanias and if you're going crazy waiting for Hollow Knight Silksong, because aren't we all? In the last Direct we got in 2024, my prayers were finally heard because we got a brand new Mario Party game, Super Mario Party Jamboree. It may not have been DLC like many of us had hoped for Superstars, but I think they made well up for it because genuinely this might be the best Mario Party game ever. 7 really good boards, tons of great minigames, loads of side modes, admittedly not all of them hit the same, but if there's one thing that this game doesn't lack, it's the content. Like, it even has a single player campaign. What sets this party apart from previous ones is the ally system, where you can get double everything, items, stars, and also bad stuff like the Bowser spaces. So if you like Mario Party and you somehow haven't picked this one up, what are you waiting for, you silly Goomba? And next up we have Neva. This is from the same studio that made Gris, and in this one you play as Alba accompanied by a majestic white wolf who will grow with you on this journey. If you enjoyed the first game Gris but felt like it was lacking in the combat department, well, worry not, because this is something that there's a lot more of in this one. It's simply one of the most gorgeous games we have on this list, so I'm gonna keep talking about it for a little bit so we can have as much footage of the game as possible, even if it means I end up waffling a bit more than I'd like. And following that up, we have Sonic X Shadow Generations. Not only is this a nice remaster of Sonic Generations, where you play as classic and modern Sonic in a mixture of 2D and 3D stages, you also have the excellent new campaign Shadow Generations, where you play as, you guessed it, Shadow, using your dark powers to fight Black Doom. This new campaign is around 5 hours long and is some of the very best 3D Sonic platforming we've seen to date. And next up we have Unicorn Overlord. Unicorn Overlord, and not Unicorn Overload as I've mistakenly called it time and time again, is a brilliant strategy game by Vanillaware, the same studio that brought you 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Following the downfall of the kingdom of Cornea, you, the knight Elaine, will have to try your best to restore order to the kingdom 10 years later. You will battle people tenfold and have to strategize to come on top, select stuff in the overworld and see the battles play out. The visuals and music are top notch as well, and as it is often with these big games, it's a perfect match to the Switch so you can play whenever you want, wherever you want. The game was the highest rated of all the games in 2024 by our users over on the website, so yes, this is truly a fantastic game, and there's a demo for it on Switch if you're not sure tactical RPGs are your cup of tea. It's been a while since we've talked about a Metroidvania, so why don't we talk about one which should have come out back in August last year but was finally released this year, Laika Aged Through Blood. This is not your typical Metroidvania, in that, well, you drive a bike in this post-apocalyptic desert world. If you like Mad Max, you'll like this. You play as the coyote Laika and will drive and shoot and drive and shoot, and you get the idea. It can be completed in 15 hours, but I don't think those hours will be easy as this is quite a challenging game. It's always nice to see when developers try out new things with existing genres, and this is certainly one of those examples. Love to see it. And then we have Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. So you might be wondering, why would they put out the remake of the third Dragon Quest game first, with the first and second one also having a remake coming out sometime later this year? Well, it's because this one actually takes place before those two games. As the title says, it's an HD 2D remake, and it looks beautiful on Switch. Be warned though, the gameplay is still very much like an old school RPG, so it might not be to everyone's liking. But if you like classic turn-based combat and some random encounters, well, this is some of the very best you can get. There's also voice acting now, and the music is played by a live orchestra, which really helps elevate this experience to the next level. Something that this game really deserves. It is time to slay vampires in Castlevania Dominus Collection. This includes the 3 DS Castlevania games, Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia in this exquisite package. Since these are DS games, touch support is also available, which might make this Switch version better than playing it on other consoles. And if Nintendo finally decided to bring some of their DS games to the Switch, we wish they would give you the same options as in this collection. Multiple different layouts, admittedly some work better than others, but it's nice to have the options. Also, in line with many other collections, you'll find concept art, a place to hear all the music, plus change what version you want to play of said game. There's even 2 extra games included, one of them horrible and the other a remake of that game, but not so horrid. When Alpha Dream closed down shop, none of us could have expected the surprise announcement of a new Mario and Luigi, developed by the team behind Octopath Traveler no less. 9 years after the last original Mario and Luigi game, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, we finally got Mario and Luigi Brothership. In this game, Mario and Luigi will set sail to different islands and fight tons of foes in classic Mario and Luigi turn-based fashion. But there are some new things here to accompany you. Use plugs to change up your fighting style, Luigi logic, and interact with a ton of NPCs around these islands. To say this game has been dividing in reception is an understatement, but we here feel it was a solid experience and one you should consider checking out if you have been a fan of Mario and Luigi over the years. Coming up, we have Pepper Grinder, and would you look at that, it was released on my birthday. You play as Pepper, who get all their treasure stolen and have to reclaim it. And what better tool to do that than with her trusty old grinder? It's a bit Sonic-esque in that you will just blitz through levels and sometimes not have enough time to even think. And if you're unsure if that's your kind of thing, there's a free demo on the eShop for you. Also, if you know the game Drill Dozer made by Game Freak no less, you might recognize the inspiration taken from that game here now 20 years later. Pepper Grinder tries a lot of different stuff out, has a brilliant art style, and an aim and breaky soundtrack which is a delight. And next up we have Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. So this is a collection which I saw a lot of people be excited for. Now, I'm too young to understand the hype since arcades wasn't really a thing of my childhood, and these, well, are all arcade fighting games. But I did get to try out one of the games in this collection when I visited Sion last summer, being Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, and had a blast punching it out as Gambit. Not only is this collection just really well presented with CRT filters, a music player and an art gallery, it contains Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which a lot of people seem to be really happy about. There's 7 games in total included in this collection, and tons of hours of fun to be had. And then we have Princess Peach Showtime! In this game, you play as Princess Peach, who don't need no one to come save her. Instead, she has traveled to a theater, but things don't go as planned. You'll be in the spotlight in loads of different roles. Be a detective, be a chef, be a ninja, and many, many more things. The art style is sweet, and just FYI, this game is especially really great for younger audiences, since its difficulty is light, and it all just has a very family-friendly vibe to it. It's not often Peach gets to be the main protagonist, but this game is a step in the right direction to see her more often take center stage. And then we have Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist. We've already seen some great Metroidvanias on the list, and this one is no different. I mean, it is different from the previous one since you're not riding a motorcycle or you're not a little blob, but instead you play as this little girl who can control these machine-like creatures called homunculi. So this girl is actually not doing anything herself. You summon these things to do the heavy hits, and my god, does the system just work really well. This is a sequel to Ender Lilies, but you can absolutely play this one on its own as I did. Movement, combat is top-notch, and the progression is also just really satisfying. My favorite feature of the game is that it colors in parts of the map where you've seen all that there is to see, making it much easier to spot what parts you need to backtrack to. Metroidvania makers, take notes. And following that up, we have Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. This is a Resident Evil type horror game, but with puzzles instead. Made by the same team that made Sayonara Wild Hearts, which was fantastic, this game is a stark contrast to that game, both in gameplay and visually. The old movie look is really well executed and looks stunning, and the story/gameplay, well, it's one of those games where knowing less is better, but we'll say this. You're going around in a mansion solving tons of puzzles. You might get stuck, but not in the annoying way where you feel like you didn't have a chance. No, you'll feel like, oh, of course, why didn't I think of that? As a Professor Layton fan, this is an absolute win. And next up, we have Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, a game we thought was stuck back on the GameCube and finally saw the light on Switch in this beautifully, lovingly crafted remake. It was my first time playing this game, and it turned out to be not only just my favorite game of the 8th year of the Switch, but one of my favorite games ever. It's a Mario RPG like no other. The dialogue is witty, funny, like really well written stuff. The combat is some of the very best I've ever tried. The badges give you so much customization, and there's just new ideas left, right, center, and back, which makes it engaging the whole way through. It's one of the great strengths of this game, the structure, how each chapter goes to a new place, you meet new characters, and they just feel very different. This remake also adds a revamped soundtrack which takes all the iconic tunes and just turns it up to the next level. For example, battle themes takes a lot of inspiration of the Origami King, where each area has like the same melody, but it's tweaked just a bit to fit that area of the game. All in all, just a fantastic package, and if you haven't played it already, well, I'm a bit jealous because I wish I could play this for the first time again. And now it's time to talk about RollerCoaster Tycoon Classic, the first and second RollerCoaster Tycoon game bundled into one. If you somehow don't know what these games are, it's theme park simulators, meaning you'll be building rides and attractions for all the lovely people attending it. Speaking of lovely people, Alex made the review of this game initially and had a few suggestions on how to make this collection even better, and a lot of it came true. Now there's touch controls, which for some reason wasn't there at launch, tutorials to teach you certain controls, and you can also change the cursor speed. So really nice to see the developers listening. What more is there to say? These are all-time classics, incredible games, and now they are finally available on Nintendo Switch. So this is the spot that would have been occupied by Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, but it's only here as an honorable mention, unfortunately. Nothing to do with the quality of the game, this is sublime, and the new version adds a whole new story path, but I thought it would be a shame to have this game take up a spot, since it technically was already in one of these videos in the years prior. So instead, I'll have another game that also starts with Shin, being Shin, Shan, Shiro, and the Cold Town. I'll take any opportunity to talk about these types of games because I quite like them. It is so pretty, and here you run around this little Shin-Shan and will switch back and forth from beautiful green colorful farm vistas to more Professor Layton-y city vibes in the Cold Town. You will race in minecarts, interact with all the different NPCs, and most of all look for specific items scattered around the scenes to progress the story, which I think is a little bit too long for its own good, but still a really solid and, most importantly of all, relaxing experience. Yeah, he is still out cold, so I guess I'll try my best to do the outro. Those were the 21 best games that came out in the 8th year of the Switch. Don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell. Isn't that what all YouTubers say? There's also a website, which I guess most of you don't know, but it's there. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Remember to say Felix from Nintendo Life out. Oh, okay. Felix from Nintendo Life out? Yeah, that makes him happy. Oh, does it now? Are you sure it doesn't just make you happy because you've done... shut up. Okay. All right then. Bye-bye, guys.